everyone, and welcome back to Brook Faye. If you're new to this channel is about law, finance, and lifestyle. This particular video will be on the segment that deals with law. So for those of you who already follow me, you know that I am a newly licensed attorney, and I've had many questions about my experience with the bar exam. Oh, even just saying that makes my skin crawl. But I am happy to give advice on the tips and tricks that I did to successfully pass the bar exam the first time, and also how I dealt with doing the bar exam during COVID. It was the first time that the bar exam had ever been offered remotely, and it was a very strenuous time period. I'm gonna be honest with you, it was very stressful. The bar exam itself is a tough exam, and so I just want to go ahead and let you guys know what I did to successfully pass it on the first time. So let's get started. Okay, so first, before I actually dive in to the bar exam itself, I want to first talk about the MPRE, which for those of you who are probably already in law school, you probably know what this is. But for those of you who aren't, the MPRE is the ethics portion of the bar exam. It is a shorter portion that you can take separately from the bar exam, and you can even take this while you're still in law school. And if I were you, I would advise you to do that, especially since generally most law schools require an ethics class anyways. You can just go ahead and take the MPRE after this ethics class. It doesn't require nearly as much studying time as the bar exam. However, don't get me wrong, you do still have to study for this test. I believe it's a 2-hour exam. Don't quote me, it has been a while since I've taken it, but I think it's maybe 60 questions, 2 hours, something like that. But the reason I mention that is taking the MPRE actually helped me choose my bar prep company. And I think that's a good tactic to use for a law student who's trying to figure out, do I want to use one of these companies like a Themis or a Barbary or a Kaplan, or which one is best for me? I know law schools, there'll be recruiters out there from day one when you come in as a 1L already telling you, hey, choose Barbary, choose Kaplan, choose Themis, and you have no idea about any of these programs. So I'm just going to kind of give you just how I kind of chose what program worked best for me, and how I recommend you do it as well. Again, you're going to be recommended based on, which bar company has done best, based on other law school students or experience. But I personally think it's best to just kind of go based on your study habits. And that's what I did in taking the MPRE. So what I did is in taking the MPRE, you can choose between what course you want to take. Luckily, again, the MPRE is not as strenuous as an exam as the bar exam, so you can go to any of these bar prep companies, any of the Kaplans, Themis, or Barbarys, and you can take a MPRE course with them. And generally, it's only maybe, it's pretty, I think it's generally free. And you might have to pay like $10 shipping for the books, but it's well worth it. And so what I did is I actually took both Barbary and Themis's MPRE course. And the reason I did that is, yeah, I know, you're kind of thinking, oh, I don't want to do the extra work. But the reason I did that is because I wanted to go ahead and figure out, based on those courses, which one aligned more with my personality and my study types for the bar exam. I didn't want to just take a course because everybody else said they took it and passed the first time. Because I knew, after my first year of law school, one of the mistakes I made was trying to study like everybody else versus learning what really worked for me. So I would strongly advise you in going into the bar exam to figure out what works best for you and stick with that. There's so many people that try to do what everybody else does and it ends up not working out for them. So I think this is a great way to figure out which bar company, which study material works best for you. So going into all that, like I said, did Barbary and Themis for my bar prep course. And this video is not sponsored in any way, by the way. And I ended up choosing Themis, and I'll let you know why I chose Themis over Barbary. So for me, Themis, when I took the MPRE, it just broke things down to me a lot better. Like the book was shorter, the videos, to me, it's like he was speaking to me like a normal person, not too much legalese. Of course the law has all those terms of art and that's necessary, but I really wanted somebody to break it down as easy and simple as possible for me to synthesize and be able to apply it on test day. And I personally felt like Themis did that for me. I also had heard good experiences, of course, from both Barbary and Themis. But when I heard about people's experiences with Themis, they kind of said it was similar to what I thought. It broke things down for them better. It wasn't too much material. You know, sometimes I feel like, you know, of course, well, first, let's say the bar exam is going to have a lot of material. That's just true. But it was enough relevant material for you to be able to synthesize and apply on test day. So with that being said, when it came to the bar exam, I ended up choosing Themis. So if you know Themis, you know, this is a, you know, kind of logo and all that for it. Once I signed up and I paid for the bar exam course, they end up sending you, I think maybe 6 to 8 books like this. I can't remember, but it's a lot of books. Like this one is like the smallest book that I have from them. And it's probably for the MEE section, but they end up sending you these books. And they actually send them in like March or April, somewhere kind of early. So if you want to kind of get started earlier, you know, and just kind of review, you can do that. And for me, I actually did that for evidence. I took evidence my last semester of law school. Would not advise you to do that, but I took evidence my last semester. And for my final exam for evidence, I also reviewed the videos for Themis, and I went through the lecture notes and I kind of studied that. So that way, when it came time for me to do the bar exam for evidence, I had already kind of gone through that material. So I was able to go through that a little faster. And that's important because during those 10 to 12 weeks or whatever time period you allot for yourself to study, there will be times sometimes where you may fall behind schedule or you know, get nervous or need rest. And because I reviewed evidence a little early, it helped me catch up when I was a little bit behind. So I did Themis. In addition to doing Themis for the bar, I also did additional things. Themis was not the only study material that I used. And there are plenty of people out there who said they only did Themis, Barbary, or Kaplan, or whatever course, and that was it. For me, I did a lot of different things. I, you know, knew I was taking the UBE, and it was in a state that required a higher score than most states. So I just really wanted to make sure that I did as much as I could and pass the first time. So in addition to Themis, I also used critical pass cards. And I'm sure if you're preparing for the bar exam or if you've already taken it, then you are very familiar with these, or somebody's probably told you about them. And they're pretty much flashcards for the MBE portion of the bar exam, and they kind of help you memorize like those the black letter law and that terminology for those big 8 subjects like criminal law, civil procedure, just those bigger subjects for the bar exam. I guess I can just kind of open it up for you, and this is just like this little these yellow ones right here are for contracts, and it is a lot. I mean, you can kind of see that the stack is pretty thick. And I wouldn't say, you know, be intimidated by it, but these definitely helped me throughout my studying, just to help me memorize the law. And I would practice these probably in the mornings or just whenever I had free time, even if I was like sitting in the car waiting, just, you know, just doing anything. Even if I was on the plane, I would like study these. They're just easy. You can grab them and go. So another thing that I did is I did something that was, you know, a little unique for me, but I made ginormous poster boards. I'm sure you guys can kind of see them, and I did them in different colors. Like this is just for civil procedure right here. Like this is like, you know, for evidence, and I have something attached because I ran out of space. And I hung these around my house or my apartment while I was studying for the bar exam. So that way, when I was walking around, I would just kind of go through and memorize. Obviously, this is in really, really small font, and I probably wouldn't recommend you to do that as small, but I would go up close and actually really kind of go through the rules for these poster boards. And for me, another thing I realized is by color coding them, when I forgot some of these rules of law during the bar exam, the color would pop up in my head. So if I forgot something for con law, this blue color would pop up in my head, and I would, in my mind, try to picture it and go through and remember where the rule was. So this actually helped me a lot more than I thought. And again, if you're kind of like a visual learner, this might be something that's really, really good for you. Okay, so another thing that I use for the bar exam, which I don't have anything to show you for that, is AdaptiBar, which I'm sure a lot of people have heard about. It's an additional resource you can use, or some people solely use it for bar prep. But the reason I got AdaptiBar is because I wanted additional UBE questions. And I believe AdaptiBar provides you maybe close to like 1,900 or 2,000 additional questions. I think with Themis, I think they provided maybe like 2,500 to 3,000. I can't remember, don't quote me on that. But AdaptiBar provided additional questions as well, and a lot of those I think were from former bar exams. You can kind of look through and just kind of see how they were written. So it was just good to sometimes have a different software sometimes, just to get away from Themis and just kind of use AdaptiBar's questions as well. For me, I will say for the MBE portion, I did complete a large chunk of Themis's multiple choice questions, and I probably completed about 500 to 600 on AdaptiBar in addition to that. So it was really helpful just, to have different questions and not, use the same ones for Themis. They don't necessarily repeat or anything, but again, I just knew I wanted an additional resource. And so I think that's also just a good tactic to use. Okay, so outside of study material, just some tips I have for studying for the bar exam in general. Number one, it is an exhausting and cumbersome process. I can't lie and say that it's not a lot, because it is. I mean, taking the bar exam is serious. You're about to be a licensed attorney, and you do have to dedicate a portion of your life to studying for this exam once you finish law school. However, I will say that it is doable and it's definitely manageable. For me, what I did and what was very beneficial to me was I studied 6 days a week, and then I rested on the 7th day. And this is something that I actually tried to do in general. I really tried to, give myself a day of rest. And what I realized in doing that is during those 6 days, I actually was more productive than if I worked 7 days. Because during those 6 days, I was really looking forward to my day of rest. So on that Thursday and Friday, I was chose to rest on Saturday. I was going really, really hard. Even when I was tired, I was like, no, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep pushing, because I know on Saturday, I'm going to get the day off. So that just made my days a lot more productive versus working 7 days a week. It gave me something to look forward to every week. And when you're studying for 10 to 12 weeks, you want something to look forward to. You want to give your mind some rest. Otherwise, it's going to be overload and you won't be able to let it all sink in. So that's just something that I personally did. Another thing I would also say is make sure you eat right, get some exercise in. Again, I know studying for the bar exam, like there was days that I studied 14 hours. There were some days where I studied 8, but you still have to give your body the healing and the rest that it needs. If you're, constantly going 14 hours a day for 12 weeks and you're only getting 5 hours of rest, the day the bar exam comes, your body is not going to be able to prepare, to handle it all. It's a lot. So, try to do your best to get, somewhere between that 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night, get a little exercise, eat healthy, keep a positive mindset, and surround yourself with loved ones who are supporting you along the way. Because it is, like I said, it's an exhausting process, and you really want to have those friends and family members who really are rooting for you the whole way. Even if they don't know, what the journey's like, you just want somebody, who's always there for you to support you. So I would definitely say that. And then lastly, I know people say, with social life and, how did you balance that with the bar exam? To be honest, during the bar exam, it is kind of tough to have, the social life that, you normally have. Like, I know for me, I did not have much of a social life. I still had like that one friend that I was always calling 24/7, harassing. And, when I was down, I was like, hey, I'm not feeling good, or just talk about, the bar exam, or just vent. Like, I always had that one friend who I could always call. Like, she was always there. And of course I would check in on family. And I think I may have gone to like one event. I think my friend had her bridal shower that I still went to that. However, I did not do any travel during that 12-week time period. I was definitely really focused because I wanted to make sure I was, you know, one and done. I did not work. I didn't do any of that. So yeah, actually disclaimer. So I'm going to actually back up. I actually did, because of the coronavirus, because of the pandemic, our bar exam got pushed back to October. So it was actually, kind of different for me. I actually had to balance, you know, taking the bar exam and doing an LL.M program for about 6 weeks of my study period, which is not ideal and I do not recommend. And I will say, you know, because this was, you know, a time where nobody could have ever predicted that this would have happened. My LL.M program really tried to be flexible. I know the dean, who I do law journal for, she was very accommodating. So even though it was a lot to balance with the new, you know, LL.M tax program, it was still, it was able to be done. So it was kind of doable, but I definitely would not recommend that. If you could steer from working or doing anything like that, I would steer away from it, because it's just not worth it. Just pass and be done. Okay, so if you guys have any more questions for me, I know, you know, again, the bar exam can be a very intimidating process, but I know if you've made it through law school, you have got it. I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you to start and to get sworn in as a new licensed attorney. And I can't wait to hear about your journey. So if you have any questions or anything else, please like or comment below. Again, I'm on Instagram at _brookefay. And again, I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Bye.